All right, are you with me? Hey guys, it's November 14th. A lot of you guys are watching tonight and tomorrow for a possible rapture. And I've been with you guys on a lot of these watches. I am with you in spirit. I hope Jesus comes back tonight, tomorrow, or whenever he decides to. But to be honest, I don't think this is a good watch. And I don't want you guys to be discouraged if these dates pass. Obviously, the date is not the important part anyway. The important part is having that readiness in our heart and that love for Jesus and have his light shining in us every day. So that's the most important thing, regardless of when he comes. But I am with you in watching dates that we think that he might be pointing us to. But I don't think this is a good one. And I want to propose an alternative, not necessarily an alternative, but just a date that I've been watching, which is November 20th and 21st. And I'm going to explain why I'm looking at those dates. But before I even do that, I just want to put a reminder, a disclaimer out there. Like, obviously, the date is not that important. The only reason the date would be important is that we would, if he does point us to a certain window of time that, based on Revelation 3, verse 3, is where we get the idea. And there's some other verses too. There's several verses, but to throw one out there. If he does point us to a window of time, the only advantage is that we can have that sort of that extra watchfulness, that extra eagerness during that time. It doesn't mean he's definitely coming during that time. It doesn't mean we know the date. It just means that we think that there's some good reason to be extra watchful during that window. And so that's what I have been doing on these watch dates, and that's what I'll continue to do if I think that there's actually good reason to support it. Again, the 14th and 15th, I don't think it's a good watch, to be honest with you, but I hope I'm wrong on that, because I just want to see Jesus come back. Hang on. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so I will cut to the chase about these dates that I'm watching, but one of the things that I think when we are talking about these dates is that we have to stay focused on what we've been given. So, and if this is totally foreign to, if you guys are totally against Joshua or watching certain dates in general, then don't waste your time on the rest of this video. It's really not for you, and you're not going to like it. And if you don't want to watch certain dates, but you love Jesus, that's fine. Just that's the most important thing, is that you love Jesus. The dates aren't that important. And we might all be totally wrong on all of them, and he might just totally surprise us. So I'll grant you that, and maybe there's some other videos you would enjoy more. But okay, if you are still with Joshua and Helengwe, like I am, we got to stay focused on what we've been given. So I'm just going to recap some of the crucial elements that we've been given through them, assuming these are true, right? This is assuming these are true, okay? That Joshua, which only time will tell, but Joshua, the statements he made, the primary statements he made was that he was told by Jesus there will be no World Cup in 2026 because the world will be unrecognizable. He was also told that from the time Israel became a nation in 1948, there will be 77 years until the Exodus. And he was told that on September 23rd and 24th, 2025, on the Feast of Trumpets, I will come to take my church. That Jesus told him that. All right, those dates obviously passed on our calendar that we use. And so then on September 25th, Joshua said God told him, days from now, I will rapture my church. And then on October 13th, on our calendar, in a vision and a dream, Jesus told Joshua The 14th, 15th days will pass. Then on the 16th, 17th of October 2025 will be the rapture of the church. All right, so let's keep in mind some important points. The first thing he was told, 77 years until the Exodus, all right, and that on September 23rd and 24th, I will come to take my church. So the word rapture isn't used in those statements. So let's remember that the Exodus was a process back in the Old Testament. Did not happen in an instant. The Exodus did not. Now, the parting of the Red Sea, that was an event that, happened like in a span of like one event. But the Exodus itself was a process, and it took time. And, the Israelites, they were called out of Egypt, but they didn't immediately enter the promised land. They wandered around in the desert for what I believe was supposed to be 40 days, and it turned into 40 years. Why? Because of their constant grumbling. I went back and read a little bit of what they were grumbling, and they were wanting to go back into slavery because they were so tired of wandering around in the desert. They couldn't even make it 40 days. So let's note that, and let's not be like that. Let's continue to be grateful and praising the Lord and anticipating the promises he's set before us. So let's keep joy in our hearts, even when these dates pass, even if they continue to pass. Let's not grumble against God, okay, or Joshua, to be honest. The people grumbled against Moses too. So no, I'm not comparing Joshua to God, but I am comparing him to Moses. If he's telling the truth and Jesus did speak to him face to face, then I am comparing him to Moses. And we are talking about an Exodus, and we are talking about the rapture, which, if his statements are true and if this does occur, then it will be an event, one of the, if not the biggest event in human history, as big as or bigger than the parting of the Red Sea. So that's what we're looking at here. So let's not grumble against God. I would say let's not grumble about Joshua either, okay? Where did I leave off? All right, so Halengue had a vision of a heavenly count. By the way, real quick, Exodus also talks about how God spoke to Moses face to face, how most of the prophets he would speak to in a vision, in a dream, but Moses he spoke to, I forget if it said face to face, but it said he saw the form of God. So when Joshua says that Jesus actually appeared to him, when he told him that on September 23rd and 24th he was going to come to take the church, that is also a strong tie to the Moses typology. Okay, anyways. Halengue, she had a vision of a heavenly calendar that showed the months starting on a full moon. So she had a vision. She was shown a calendar in heaven where the months started on a full moon. That was the first day of the month. In that vision, she also received instruction about the Julian and Enochian calendars. All right, now we know the Feast of Trumpets occurs on the first day of the 7th month. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but I'm going to tie it all together. The Feast of Trumpets is on the first day of the 7th month. That's from Leviticus 23:24, which says, on the first day of the 7th month, you are to have a day of Sabbath rest, a sacred assembly commemorated with trumpet blasts. All right, so, and remember, September means 7. It does not mean 9, it means 7. We'll come back to that later. Okay, actually, we'll come back to that right now. October 7th was actually the 7th full moon since the spring equinox. The spring equinox was March 20th, 2025. So the first new moon was after that, was in March. It was in late March, was the first new moon. But the first full moon after the equinox was April 12th. All right, so April, May, June, July, August, September. October 7th was the seventh full moon. So based off of the heavenly calendar that Hellingway saw, October 7th was the first day of the seventh month, making it the true Feast of Trumpets, right? Remember, Feast of Trumpets is on the first day of the seventh month. But interestingly, this day was also September 24th on the Julian calendar, right? That's why that was a high watch date for us, because it was actually the true Feast of Trumpets based on the calendar Hellingway saw. And it was also September 24th on the Julian calendar. All right, are you with me so far? Okay. I'm gonna put all of this in. I have all of this in a post. I just need to post it too. So if you want to read through it and look at some of this, you can. All right. After the watch dates for October 6th and 7th passed, this is interesting. Several people reported dreams of seeing that Jesus had come down and was waiting in the clouds. Holly Two Moons posted a rapture dream 5 years ago, in which she also saw Jesus waiting in the clouds. All right, if we look back to the Exodus account and the burning bush, we see that God told Moses, "I have come down to rescue them." This is before the Exodus occurs. It's before any of the plagues. It's before the parting of the Red Sea. It's before the wandering in the wilderness. It's before they enter into the promised land. It's before all that. God tells Moses, "I have come down to rescue them." All right. Obviously, it took many years before they entered the promised land. But obviously, that was partly because they were rebellious and they were grumbling. So again, let's not be like that. We don't want to repeat what the Israelites did. Okay, so we want to trust God, and we want to keep the light of Christ and the love of Christ in our hearts. All right, and a gratefulness for the promises that He set before us, and just trust in His timing. All right, that having the right heart posture is far more important than guessing right on the date. Okay, but I still like to be watchful and watch these dates with you guys. I think it's a good thing, because I don't think He gave us this information for no reason. I think He wants us to be watching. The Bible tells us He wants us to be watching. All right, so basically I'm hypothesizing or theorizing that Jesus Christ did come down on October 7th, 2025, the true Feast of Trumpets, which was September 24th on the Julian calendar, and He has been and is currently waiting in the clouds. Okay? But there's another piece of what Joshua said that we can't just overlook, and I think this is where we've kind of gone off track. We can't just forget about His vision where He said the 15 days will pass, then on the 16th, 17th of October, 2025 will be the rapture of the church. Now, He said rapture here. That's very specific. That's talking about the event. All right, so we obviously can't know for sure. In fact, we've been wrong every time. So let's stay humble. But I think there's good reason to watch on November 20th and 21st. Here's why, finally, after we've recapped all of that and refreshed that in our minds. November 5th was actually the 8th full moon since the spring equinox, making November 5th the first day of the 8th month, going by the heavenly calendar that Hellingway reported from her vision. October means 8. Remember, it does not mean 10, it means 8. So if November 5th was actually the first day of the 8th month, then November 20th and 21st are the 16th and 17th days of October. And then if we want to throw in a few more sort of periphery things to look at, October 7th to November 15th, which is tomorrow, is 40 days. So there's your 40-day typology. That's probably, I think that's why a lot of people are watching today and tomorrow. But then if you add in the Noah's Ark typology, if you look at the 15th as day 1, then November 21st would be day 7 of the 7-day warning before the floodwaters opened up. So a lot of people will have been tying in the 40 days typology with the 7-day flood warning. So, and if you do that, you do have to count November 15th twice, because it's the 15th is the end of the 40-day type, and then but it's also the first day of the 7-day warning. So I'll say that one more time. From October 7th to November 21st, there are 46 days. But you would count the 15th twice, because it's the end of the 40-day type, and it's also the beginning, the first day of the 7-day warning. So that gets you, that also lands on November 21st. A few more additional notes. One person reported being told in a dream, ready 7, gone 8. That's all they said. It just said, ready 7, gone 8. And then another person reported seeing the month of November ripped off the calendar. All right, so if ready 7, gone 8 refers to the months, it would obviously seem to mean that we'll be departing in the 8th month. And again, November 20th and 21st are October 16th and 17th on the heavenly calendar Langue was shown. And one last note, November 21st. Okay, so even if we look at the Enochian calendar, November 21st on the Gregorian is actually the last day of October on the Enochian calendar. On the Enoch calendar, the 8th month, 30th day is November 21st. So that's just sort of periphery, but I thought it was interesting. All right, please take all this with a grain of salt. If we've learned anything, it's that we really don't know, even when we think we do. So I'm not saying it's going to happen on these dates. I think they are good dates to watch. I think we have good reason to have that extra watchfulness during this window based on what we received from Joshua and Halangue. And that's what I'm trying to do, is sort of stay focused on what they were given and not leave pieces of it out. And that's how I ended up at November 20th and 21st. That's about all I got there to encourage you guys. If these dates do pass, which it very well may happen, just, remember, it's not about dates. It's about having your heart right with God and having the light of Christ, the love of Christ in your heart, living with a purpose. And the purpose is not just to get out of here. The purpose of the rapture is not just to escape our troubles. I know a lot of people are going through a lot of things, and grief, stresses, financial stresses, relationship issues, and we all want our ticket out of here. Some of us want our ticket out of here, right? But that's really not what it's about. It's about wanting to be with our bridegroom, with our king, wanting to be home, right? And I understand that desire. I have that desire as well. But the flip side of that is, once we get there, then this chapter, this book is closed, and we don't have any more opportunities to really live out a life of faith, because we're going to be with him, right? There, we're not really going to need, I don't think, much faith in heaven, because we're literally going to see him just like we see each other, and we're going to see his glory, and it's going to be right in front of our face every moment for the rest of eternity. It's going to be amazing. But it really is an opportunity. Every day here on earth is a special opportunity to demonstrate the love of Christ and to live a life of faith, hope, and love. And I really want to encourage the bride, everybody who loves Jesus, who's looking forward to being with him, to make sure that our hearts are reflecting his love. That is the most important thing. And I don't know. I also know that he's as eager for this as we are. He's probably way more eager than we are to execute this rapture and pull his bride up there with him. He's more eager than we are, guys. But he wants to have a beautiful bride. And a beautiful bride is one that is fully clothed in his righteousness. And that occurs by faith, right? It's not our righteousness. We are all unrighteous. It's by his righteousness. But we can be clothed with that through faith. And if we truly have that faith, it will be evident by the love of God being in our hearts. So that's just a good litmus test for yourself. And it is for me as well every day. And we just have to ask God. We gotta repent from our sin and just ask God, give me the love of God in my heart. I want my life to reflect your light, your love, your truth each day. And so that's my prayer for myself and for each of us. And I love you guys. And I don't know, I enjoy watching for his return. It's a very special time, and I'm thankful for each of you who are a part of this and watching for him as well. It's really, I think it's so much fun to be watching for the King. So don't give up. Don't give up. I'm obviously still interested in watching dates that I think we have good reason to be watchful on. But it's really all about love. It's all about the love of God, the love of Christ. So we'll carry on until the day he takes us home. But I will be a little bit extra watchful on the 20th and 21st. Maybe you'll join me in that. And I love you guys. Be blessed. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.